Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Remote No Pressure podcast. It's been an excellent week, another great week. And it just, every week it amazes me how quickly the week goes by. And I can't believe that we have produced so many episodes week after week. It's just crazy. But this week, so before we get started, okay, my question to you is, have you signed up for the mailing list? Because like yesterday, me and John Murphy and Wild Bill, we were out fishing and doing some promotional stuff for the upcoming news. It's super exciting. If you are on the mailing list, you're going to find out about it first. If you are not on the mailing list, you will find out that first Sunday in May. We're on the podcast here. We're going to make an announcement. It's going to be amazing. We're all very, very, very excited. So be sure to go to remotenopressure.com and sign up for our mailing list. Go to our Facebook, Instagram, but most importantly, go to the mailing list because that's where it's at. That's where we're going to make the big announcement. Now, this week's episode, fantastic. We have cancer survivor and just all around awesome human being, Cahn here, that's going to share with us her story about how fly fishing and the things in life that have come at her have just completely revolutionized and changed her life. Welcome to the podcast. Let's light the fire. Well, today on the Remote No Pressure podcast, we have Cahn. Thank you for joining us, Katie.
It's good to be here, Jeff. Thank you.
Now, I was reading your biography, and for those who are listening to the podcast, we do have it available on our website at remotenopressure.com. But you actually were kind of late in going to school. You chose to go back to school at age 30. Is that right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that's correct.
What made you decide one day to wake up and say, hey, it's time for me to go back to college? And did you just figure things out, or what was that like?
Well, I knew something was missing in my life, and I decided that I didn't want to be a waitress in my 40s. So because I had been waitressing for, so long. I'm sorry, serving. That's politically correct. Sorry. So I've been serving for so long, but I've been working all these odd jobs and really it was just working all these odd jobs. I've done everything. It seems like I was a raft guide. I worked at a plant nursery. I worked at a bank as a bank teller. I have done all these things in my life, and always knew that I wanted to get my degree. I was never good at school, ever. I skimmed on C's and D's in high school. And so I never thought that college would be something I was good at or I would be good at. So it took a long time, and I did some traveling and throughout, the years before college. Just having a great time, and kind of got to that point where I was like, I've been having a great time and now I'm 30. What does my future look like? So that's when I enrolled, and I actually did really well in college.
Yeah.
Way better than I thought I would.
Yeah, it's funny how when you study things you enjoy, you tend to make better grades than being forced to study in high school. Plus, you at age 30, you have a little bit more maturity in life underneath your belt at age 30.
Oh yeah. Totally. And I was paying for it myself.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I want to tell all college students. When you're going to college, you are paying them. The professor is pretty much your employee. He works for you. And don't forget that, like when you're paying for it yourself, you take it a little more seriously, I think, than if mom and dad are paying for it,
Oh yeah. It's so true. So yeah. And I didn't have anybody to pay for college when I was in my youth. So yeah. Yeah. It was, I did really well. I made all A's. I think I had some awards and scholarships going on too. It was a surreal time in my life. I have to say, I got through it in 5 years with a lot of screaming and crying and pulling out my hair, but I made it.
What did you major in?
Special education.
Okay. Now, you go to college at age 30 and finishing up your bachelor's degree. From the time you got out of high school till the time you went to college, you said there that you were a server, you did all these crazy jobs too, like working in nurseries and that. What is the worst job that you had?
The worst job I ever had, it comes right to my mind, is this job that I took in San Diego as a graduation flower wrapper. um, I flew out to San Diego. My friends that I just love to death were like, "Come out, you make $15 an hour." And it's great. And I get out there and I start rolling these flowers in plastic and going to different graduations and selling it. It's all when I get there, I find out it's all under the table. This guy has there's no legality in any of it, and there's no place to stay, there's no place to sleep, so we're camping out every night, and we're eating out of at grocery stores and fast food restaurants, and the roses were just, I don't know what was going on. They were from Ecuador, I guess, and there's like a lot of pesticides on them. I got sick, like terribly sick, twice. And I did that, that was all in like a month's time. And I said, I'm going back home. I missed out on a really great summer season as a raft guide. And anyway, that was the worst job.
Yeah, it doesn't take long to remember the worst job. It comes.
No, it doesn't. You're right.
The best
it's funny
job
that you asked. Nobody ever asked me that.
Well, so you're going to college there in Western Carolina University, and you discover
Yep.
fly fishing. How did you find fly fishing?
Okay, so in my area, Western North Carolina is a mecca for fly fishing, but I was never interested in it. And then I had a friend who gave me a fly fishing rod. I took it to the pond one day and acted like I knew what I was doing. Just kind of threw it out in the water. But I had this rod. I always had this rod with me wherever I went. And when I started college at Western Carolina, I lived about 100 yards or so from one of the delayed harvest sections in Western North Carolina, one of the bigger rivers, the Tuckasegee River. And it was like right in front of my house. And, I was always studying and just, I needed a break. And so the best way to do that was to just walk, across the street to the field and down to the river. I would take my dog down there. So I started, taking the fly rod out and getting used to, I guess, casting at first. But I also had a friend that taught me a little bit. And so I just thought, yeah, I'll use this rod that I never use. But then I caught a fish once, and it was a wild brown trout in that river that was right across the street from my house. And I thought, hey, this ain't so bad, and I need to do more of this. This is really helping me with school. And so, I just started watching YouTube videos and going out every day. And eventually I was catching more fish. And then I started hitting the delayed harvest section, and then was catching all these really big fish, although I was breaking off almost every other fish because I didn't know how to actually work the fish. So I guess about 2 months of that, I started going into fly shops and talking to the workers there and just finding out about more creeks, rivers, streams in the area. And then I would go out and I learned that, the native brook trout was, right outside my door, up the mountain, of course. And that is what intrigued me the most was, I can now hike and be by myself and be in an amazing, beautiful place and be on a river and catch these, awesome fish. And so that was it for me. And, I was like, I'm done with all other sports. This is all I need. And so, I finally found my niche. It was incredible.
Now, do you guide currently?
I do. Yeah. I just guided a trip today.
Okay. So what are some of the things that you've learned from some of your customers that you've guided?
I've learned to be patient.
Mm.
And I was telling my client today, it was a 15-year-old girl who had never been fly fishing before, and she had a 20-inch rainbow on, and this doesn't happen often.
No, no.
So yeah, it was like her third cast and
Wow.
ever, and yeah, and she was as she was bringing it in, I was coaching her. Her dad was there watching. He was filming the whole thing, and they were just talking about how well that I was coaching her through this, and it really dawned on me that I've learned so much from a year ago when I was taking clients out and just freaking out when they had a big fish on, saying, "Don't do this, do this, don't do that," just going crazy over the whole experience. And then most of the time the fish would break off, or I'd try to net it too quickly, and everything would just go to hell. But now that I'm more patient and am able to talk my client through it, 9 times out of 10 I net the fish, and everybody's happy. So I've learned a lot about patience.
Now, do you use your special education degree? Are you a teacher with special ed or not?
Yeah, I actually did it for 3 years and decided that I didn't want to do it anymore. A lot happened in my life where I decided that I wasn't going to be part of a system that I wasn't really into, and so I got out of the public school system, started working for private schools, and still didn't feel comfortable with it all. I was a raft guide for 20 some odd years. Well, I was a raft guide, but I was also like doing other things at, rafting company. And I always felt so at home doing that kind of stuff and that kind of work. And so when when I was asked to be a fly fishing guide, I jumped on it, and that was last year. And since then, I just know that, that's the kind of job that's good for me. I feel comfortable with being a guide and being outside. So I'm not a teacher anymore. I might go back to it one day, but not now.
That's really awesome, Katie, that you're self-aware. You know what makes Katie click and what your niche is. How fulfilling and how important is it to be self-aware, to know what makes you tick?
Oh, I think it's so important. It took a long time for me to actually realize what's important in life. And I went through a cancer diagnosis at the end of 2016. I had my kidney taken out, I had a renal cell carcinoma. And from that diagnosis and everything that happened to me afterwards, I I'm very self aware now, but it kind of woke me up to a lot of things. And I'm fortunate to have that wake up call. And, I wouldn't credit cancer as something that has like made me more self aware, but it definitely helped. I know that what I do day to day makes me happy, and makes other people around me happy, because I am able to, be a good person. And, if I was in a job that I didn't like, or just generally unhappy, then if I died tomorrow, I'd be pissed off that I didn't do something that I love. And
Right.
so, yeah.
What would you say? Obviously, you don't want to give cancer the credit, but the wake up call, and there's a lot of people out there that may be in their 30s or maybe in their 20s, and they're serving at a restaurant, and they're just kind of wandering, trying to figure out what's going. It's funny that you say it, because Dave Karzinski, who I'm trying to think of a few people. We've had quite a few people who were servers. We've had quite a few people who were teachers that have become guides. It's pretty consistent with the people that we
Hmm.
talk to. That's why it's kind of funny. That's why I ask you about special educations, because you obviously have a passion for teaching people and helping people, but it's got to be the Katie way. It can't be the society's expectations on you.
Yeah.
What would you say, or what are some resources like books or or some things that may help people who may not be experiencing cancer, or maybe they haven't been punched in the mouth like you were, but what would you say to some people who may be struggling to try to find themselves or be aware? What are some things that they can do to kind of find themselves?
I think it's been, the odd jobs that I've worked, the countries I've traveled to. If anybody needs a wake up call, they just need to go to India and spend a couple of months in
Oh
India
yeah, yeah.
and see how other people live. I always have said that that should be a field trip in middle school for everyone. um, that's a huge thing. But I don't know. Throughout the years, I've read adventure books, books that push people, or stories about people that have been pushed to the limit and have been able to, come out on top because of the adventures that they've been on. And, that kind of stuff helped me out. I remember reading a book after my diagnosis, and just it was like, my life isn't over, even though I was severely depressed over all the diagnosis and just being sick and having to recover, and just reading that book was like, I can't even remember the name of it now, but I'm not dead, I'm alive, and I want to live, and I'm going to, and I'm just I'm going to take it day by day. I don't have to I have to be worried about if the cancer comes back. It's time to put fear out of the way and fight for my life
Right.
and enjoy it.
Yes.
So I think if people want, if people are in a rut and they don't know what to do with their lives, or they are sick and scared, I think the best thing to do is to do something that you've always wanted to do and know that you can do it. And yeah, and if you can't do it, try something else that you want to do. And but for the most part, you're going to be able to do what you want to do.
Hmm.
And if you don't get to do it, at least you tried.
Right.
So that's important.
Yeah, yeah. I think, that's how this podcast started. I read a book called Chasing Daylight. That's kind of the start of everything. A guy that had brain cancer wrote a book and about how he processed that. And he ultimately died before he finished the book. But it put things in
Yeah.
perspective. And I thought, Katie, the only thing I want to do is talk to people and play my guitar about and songs about fly fishing and go fly fishing. And so I was like, how can I do that? Because that's what I wanted to do with my life. And I was working in finance, and I was like, I hate this. I absolutely hate this. This is the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life. Chronic depression.
Oh
I
yeah.
was physically sick all the time. But society told me, Jeff, you go to college. This is what you do.
I know.
I'd get up and go, and I'm in traffic on the way to work, in traffic on the way home, struggling just to eat healthy, and just got fatter and fatter and unhealthier, and the stress and the depression. But I was doing what society told Jeff to do. But really, that's not what I was
Mhm.
born to do, Katie, and that's why I'm asking you these questions, because it seems like, you found yourself. And I just want to say that is such an awesome thing. And I hate that you went through the cancer, and I hate all that you went through, but my God, it seems like it saved your life. It's amazing.
Yeah, I have to agree. Thank you so much, and I'm glad that that book helped you and you got out of finance. Thank God.
Yeah, yeah, it was not a good fit for me, but like you said, I just I was like, screw it. If I fail doing it, I failed doing it. But until then, I'm gonna enjoy the ride. And so
Right.
many, so many,
Exactly.
so many people I see do that. They just do what society tells them to do, or that maybe they want to be a raft guy, and they're like, nah, I gotta get a real job, or I gotta do this or that, and there's different circumstances for different people. But your story is so inspiring that it's cool to hear. It's cool to hear what you're doing, and I'm very excited for you. Now, with your fight with cancer, there is that the reason you're so involved with casting for recovery? Is that kind of the motivation behind that?
Yeah, when I had a diagnosis, I wasn't a guide then, and I became a guide, just a few months after my last surgery of December 2016. I actually started guiding in February,
Mm.
and so when I started guiding, that's when I heard about Casting for Recovery and that, they needed volunteers, they needed river helpers and people to guide. And so I volunteered, as soon as I heard about it. And then I showed up this at one of these at one of the retreats that they have, and I showed up early, and I ended up in the wrong room, and I've ended up in there in a private session with all the females that were there, and they were sharing their cancer stories, and I was sitting in the corner, and I knew I wasn't supposed to be there. I've realized, oh, I'm not supposed to be in here, but I didn't want to get up and interrupt, and listening to their cancer stories, and relating to them, and knowing that they were there, to learn how to fly fish, and that was hopefully going to help them get better. And it brought me to tears, and it was hard to control my emotions, but I was able to relate so much to them. And I just think that has been so great for me to, be part of this organization. I'm actually, this weekend, we're having a retreat in North Carolina, and they asked me to help the whole weekend, and I was all about it. So I'm looking forward to, see what is going to happen when I'm able to spend more time with these women. So I'm really excited. I think it's been just amazing. And if anybody doesn't know about Casting for Recovery, they should look it up and volunteer, because it is an excellent program.
Let me ask you this, Katie. I mean, it's such a moving story, and it sounds like you're truly making a difference. It's just so cool. Of course, you're going to get emotional about that. I mean, these are your people. You fought the same.
Hmm.
They're fighting the battles that you were fighting, and it's so
Yeah.
cool that you're able to do that. Um, on your biography, the last that you sent over, the last sentence, it says that you hope to one day start an organization of your own to help people through fly fishing. What would that look like?
Hmm.
What does that look like to you, Katie? Because obviously you have something in your head. What would that look like?
So I took 4 girls fishing the other day, and didn't know much about them. I actually was just teaching them how to fish. We had a school of trout, and these 4 girls signed up, and they were really excited. And when I was on the river with them, they started talking about their addiction recovery with drugs and alcohol, and they were just, they were so open about it. They were so excited to be out there fishing. And I thought about it, and I said, are there any organizations that actually deal with this, in the fly fishing world? And, we got to talking, and I told them that I wanted them to come back, and I was going to start writing grants, and wanted to know if they wanted to help write grants and get some money so they could come back and actually go to one of the private sections and catch some big fish. And they were ecstatic. They were so excited, so pumped on the idea. And so one of the girls is actually going to come back, and I'm going to take her fishing. But after that session with them, I started thinking, it would be amazing. I have family members who are recovering from drug addiction, and so it's near and dear to my heart to help people that are going through stuff like that. And and I know that I've also had my issues with that kind of stuff, but the whole depression part, and um, just getting through crap. And so I think that that's something that I would like to start. Right now, I just started my own business as a silversmith, and I've been working at that. So the next steps really are finding donors, and people who want to be part of this kind of stuff. I think it's one of those ideas that I don't know anybody else doing it, and maybe there are organizations out there like that, but I haven't put much time into it. But anyway, that's the kind of organization that I would like to start, for women. and maybe work towards co-eds one day. But yeah, so that's my idea.
That's great. That's great. Now, let me ask you this question. And you mentioned a couple of things in that story there. One is some of the things that you've dealt with, like depression, some of the things that you've dealt with along the way. How has fly fishing helped you with depression, and how has fly fishing helped you cope with those tougher things in life? I know we touched on cancer a little bit, but how has fly fishing really helped you? I mean, what does it do for you? I mean, let's talk about the spiritual side of things, right? Not necessarily you hooked a big trout and you were
Hmm.
excited, but let's talk about like the zen of things, right? Like the art of fly fishing, the
Yeah.
philosophy. Can you tell us a little bit about how this let's like it's kind of like the force, right, from Star Wars? I mean, what is this thing that we can't really see but it changed your life? Can you tell us a little bit about how fly fishing helped you with that?
So so I didn't grow up with religion in my family.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know the Bible. I didn't know it. I didn't know Jesus Christ. I didn't know God. I didn't know Satan. That kind of stuff just never entered into my family realm. But I've always been very spiritual, and I owe that to my mother. But you know, growing up on the river, um, the trees, the birds, the river, the sounds, the wind, that's all God to me.
Mm.
So when I started fly fishing and getting into the whole fact that hey, I can be out here by myself, and it's a time to really get to know myself, to reflect on the things that I've been through, maybe even the day that I've had. But when it's when you're sitting there, you've casted maybe 15 times, nothing's going on. And sometimes it's just okay to put down the rod and enjoy the kingfishers that fly by, or to fish, watch fish come up for bugs and just enjoy that. And so I often do that.
Mm.
Give the fish a break, give the river a break.
Yeah.
And to me, that's like going to church. And so people talk about, well, you don't go to church. You need to go to church. My husband's parents are kind of adamant on telling me that I need to go to church or us to go to church. But to me, it's like, well, I'm in church almost every day, and that's what's given me strength.
Mm.
And if I'm out there and I'm enjoying where I am and I feel closer to God than any other place that I could be, then I'm doing something right. And do I really need to put a title on that?
Yeah.
So
It's
that's fly fishing for me.
that's awesome. I mean, you can describe, every religion recognizes some sort of baptism in water, you know,
Yeah, for
I,
sure.
and
Yes.
it's like, it's like when I go fly fishing, that's like baptism to
Wow.
me. You know what I mean? Like that's a baptism. It's good for my soul. It's something about it.
Yeah.
You're just washing it off. So,
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
well, I just want you to know, Katie, we're very happy and we're so thankful and grateful that you spent some time talking to us. And I want you to know that everyone here that's listening, and me and my producer John Murphy, and we're all behind you 100%. We really, I can hear the passion in your voice, Katie, and what you're doing and going for this nonprofit to help people who've dealt with addictions. And we just want to say whatever we can do to help you. Once you get it up and running, if you want to come back on the show and give us an update on what's going on, I just want you to know that we will do whatever we can to help you with that, and we just really believe in you, and I want you to do it so badly. So just go for it and kick butt, and I'm so happy for you.
Oh, thank you so much, Jeff. That means so much to me. I really appreciate that. The encouragement helps a lot.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. We're a community here for you, and please let us know whatever we can do. Now, in the meantime, if someone wants to get a hold of you, maybe make a donation or maybe help you get started or just want to follow you or what your story is and what's going on, how would people get in touch with you or follow you?
Okay, so the best way to get in touch with me is through Instagram, and my handle is at Katie Cahn, and my last name is spelled Cahn, and Katie with a K, IE. And so that's a great way to get to in touch with me, and also to kind of see what my story, all the fishing photos, and just kind of my journey in digital format. But also, if they wanted to email me, then they can get me at katie@headwatersoutfitters.com.
Well, great. Well, we're going to put all that up in the show notes. We're also going to tag you in some of the awesome photos that you sent for our feed. We're very thankful for that. We'll try to make you famous if we can.
Oh, thank you.
We'll put you up there. And just thank you so much. Thank you very much for spending some time with us.
Yes, Jeff, thank you so much. This has been awesome. It's been a real treat.
Well, thank you, Katie, and thank you for joining us for another week of the Remote No Pressure Podcast. Thank you again. We're always so excited at getting emails from you guys and getting new followers. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you very much. Be sure to go to our website at remotenopressure.com. Sign up for our mailing list. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and all those things. Until next time, go fishing.